The Galactic Council's Grand Hall was a place of wonder. It stretched wider than most cities, its ceiling glittering with lights that looked like stars. Beings from across the galaxy gathered here, each representing their people. Some were tall and shining like crystal towers, others broad and strong with armored scales, while others floated like glowing clouds of energy. For centuries, this hall had seen new civilizations step forward, proving themselves ready to join the greater galactic community. That day, however, curiosity buzzed louder than usual. A new species was about to arrive, humans. No one knew much about them. Their homeworld was far from the central routes on the edge of mapped space. They had been noticed only recently when their signals reached deep space stations. The Council had extended the same invitation they always gave to young civilizations. Come forward, show your fleet and take your place among the stars. The crowd waited with excitement, expecting something grand. When other species had first arrived, they usually brought massive ships built to impress and to frighten. The Kreth came with vessels the size of mountains. The Veyari had once shown up with a fleet that shined so brightly it looked like a second sun. It was a tradition, to display strength through size. When the humans arrived, the hall shook with laughter. A screen at the center displayed their approach. Compared to the mighty fleets of the older civilizations, the human ships were small, barely more than a handful. Some of them were no larger than cargo freighters. Their weapons seemed limited, their engines ordinary, their hulls plain gray without glowing marks or shining banners. The great Kreth commander thumped his chest in amusement. Are these toys? Do the humans send scouts instead of warships? A ripple of laughter followed. The tall, elegant Veyari whispered among themselves, covering their faces as if hiding smiles. Even the usually serious Thark, whose insectoid mandibles rarely moved, made a clicking sound that could only be laughter. To the galaxy's veterans, this was comedy. In a place where fleets were judged by size and shine, the humans looked like children trying to play with giants, yet the humans themselves did not laugh. On their ships, the captains and crews moved calmly, without signs of fear or embarrassment. Their leader, Admiral Marcus Hale, appeared on the Council's screen. He was a middle-aged man with stern eyes and a calm voice. His uniform was plain, without ornaments, but the way he stood made it clear he carried no shame. On behalf of humanity, he said simply, we thank you for your welcome. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship. Our fleet is small, but it represents our people truly. Some council members chuckled again. Others whispered with concern. Few paid close attention to the Admiral's words, but those who did noticed something unusual. The man did not sound defensive, nor did he sound nervous. His tone was steady, as if he knew something the rest of the galaxy did not. The council chair, an ancient being of shimmering light, raised its voice. Humans, we welcome you. But tell us, why do you come with such a small force? Do you not wish to show your strength? Admiral Hale paused before answering. We have learned that true strength does not always need to shout. Sometimes it whispers. The words were simple, but they carried weight. Still, most did not understand them. As the human fleet moved into the great docking ring, the scale became even clearer. Around them floated the vast ships of other civilizations, colossal dreadnoughts with cannons the size of buildings, vessels covered in shimmering armor, fleets so large they blocked the stars behind them. Next to these, the human ships looked like fishing boats parked among titans. The Kreth commander leaned toward a fellow warlord. If this is their whole force, they will be crushed in any real battle. Perhaps they should return to their little blue planet and stay there. But not everyone laughed. A quiet observer, Ambassador Celia of the Teyari, kept her sharp eyes on the humans. Her people were known for reading between lines, for sensing when something was not as it seemed. She noticed how the humans' ships flew, not with clumsy hesitation but with smooth coordination. Every turn, every adjustment was exact, as if each pilot could sense what the others were doing. It reminded her of birds in flight, moving together as one. She also noticed their calm. New civilizations often tried too hard to impress, decorating their ships with banners, shining lights, or heavy weapons. Humans did none of this. They entered without fear, without the need to boast. It was strange. The council chair declared that the humans would be given their chance to demonstrate their fleet's ability during the coming trials. Every new species was tested to ensure they could protect themselves and contribute to the galaxy's balance. The humans, The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council never stayed quiet for long. After the humans' first arrival, their tiny fleet became the subject of endless gossip across the chamber. Delegates from dozens of worlds whispered, joked, and speculated. Some believed the humans were brave, others thought them foolish, but nearly everyone agreed on one point: their fleet was too small to matter. The following day, the council gathered again. The hall glittered with thousands of lights as ambassadors, commanders, and leaders took their places. At the center stood the chair of the council, a being of pure luminous energy, its form shifting like a star burning behind a veil. Members of the council, the chair's voice rang, calm yet commanding. The time has come for the proving trials. Every new civilization must demonstrate the strength of its fleet. This is our way to ensure balance, to guard against threats, and to welcome allies who can stand beside us. The mention of the trials stirred the chamber. Some species grinned, excited to witness the event, while others leaned forward, eager to measure the humans against the galaxy's strongest fleets. The Kreth warlord, a towering figure of muscle and bone armor, rose from his seat and spoke loudly. Let the humans be first. If they wish to call those freighters a fleet, let us see how long they last in battle. Laughter spread again, echoing like thunder through the chamber. Admiral Marcus Hale, who stood with the human delegation, did not flinch. His expression remained steady, his voice calm. We accept. The sudden silence that followed was sharper than the laughter. Many had expected humans to hesitate, to ask for more time, or to refuse altogether. Instead, they accepted as if they had been waiting for this moment. The Veari ambassador, a tall and graceful figure with skin like liquid silver, leaned forward. Admiral, do you truly believe your fleet can stand in the trials? The warlord exaggerates, but the tests are not games. Many ships have been broken during these displays. Hale nodded slowly. We understand. But humanity does not run from challenges. If we are to join this council, then we will prove our worth as others have done. The room buzzed with murmurs. Some shook their heads, convinced the humans would humiliate themselves. Others grew curious. The warlord's threat, at the same time, dark news spread beyond the chamber. A galactic warlord named Varkesh had begun to stir trouble on the outer rim. His fleet, massive and ruthless, raided smaller colonies, forcing entire systems into submission. He was not part of the council and had no intention of joining. Instead, he sought to carve out his own empire. Varkesh's name carried fear. He commanded ships so large they could eclipse cities, and his forces were merciless. Even established empires hesitated to confront him directly. The council chair addressed the gathering once more. We face a growing danger. Warlord Varkesh expands his rule unchecked. If the council is to stand strong, all species must be ready to defend not only themselves but also one another. The trials are not merely tradition, they are preparation. At this, the humans exchanged brief glances among themselves. Admiral Hale's jaw tightened, though his voice remained calm when he spoke. Then we will treat this trial as if it were real battle. Humanity will show what it can do, and we will do so with honor. The Kreth commander scoffed, his mandibles clicking. Honor will not save you when your ships are dust. But Hale simply replied, we shall see. Preparations. Later, in the docking ring, the human crews readied their ships. Their vessels looked plain, but up close, one could see the subtle details. Hull plates reinforced in clever ways, engines humming with efficiency, and weapons concealed until needed. The human captains moved with precision. Orders were given calmly, every crew member focused. Unlike other species who often filled their bridges with ceremonial officers, banners, or symbolic figures, the humans kept their command rooms simple. There were only screens, controls, and people working with quiet determination. Ambassador Celia of the Tayari visited one of the human ships before the trials. She was curious, perhaps the only non-human who did not fully dismiss them. Admiral, she asked, why did you not bring more ships? Surely your people must have larger vessels somewhere. Hale studied her for a moment, then answered carefully, size does not always decide victory. We believe in precision, strategy, and trust between crew and ship. This fleet is small, yes, but every vessel has been tested in fire. Celia tilted her head. Fire? The Admiral's eyes grew distant, remembering wars fought on Earth, conflicts that had shaped humanity across centuries. Our history has not been gentle. We learned to survive with less, to fight smarter, not louder. That lesson is written into every bolt of these ships. Celia considered his words. Many species measured power in how much raw energy their ships could unleash. But perhaps, she thought, the humans measured differently. The day of the trial. The proving ground was a vast sector of empty space, marked with beacons and monitored by thousands of eyes from across the galaxy. Fleets gathered on one side, ready to demonstrate their strength. The trials had several stages: defense, offense, and endurance. Each fleet would face challenges designed to test their coordination and power. For most civilizations, it was a chance to boast, to show overwhelming might. The human fleet hovered quietly in formation. Their ships were smaller than the others, but they moved with practiced grace. Observers noted how tightly they stayed aligned, as though connected by invisible strings. The first challenge began. Automated drones built to mimic enemy attackers swarmed into the field. They fired volleys of energy at the fleets. Most civilizations responded with heavy fire, unleashing blasts so bright they lit up the void. Drones were torn apart in clouds of fire. The humans waited. They did not fire immediately. Instead, their ship spread slightly, adjusting angles. Then, as one, they struck. Short, precise bursts of energy cut through the drones with deadly accuracy. Not a single shot missed. The audience leaned forward. There was no waste, no chaos. Every human shot seemed to know exactly where it belonged. The Kreth commander frowned. "Luck," he muttered. But even he was not convinced. The second challenge began. Fleets had to disable a series of heavily armored targets, while under constant pressure from more drones. Other species poured out overwhelming firepower, their cannons thundering again and again until the targets cracked. The humans, however, chose another path. Their ships darted between drones, dodging beams and missiles with sharp movements. Instead of hammering the targets with brute force, they focused fire on weak points, joints, reactors, shield emitters. Within minutes, the massive targets fell dark, disabled with fewer shots than any other fleet. Gasps echoed through the council's viewing chambers. "Impossible," whispered a Vayari noble. "No fleet is that efficient." But the humans had done it. Whispers of strategy. By the time the endurance round began, curiosity had replaced laughter. Even the Kreth commander's smile had vanished. The humans had not only survived, but performed better than most larger fleets. On the council floor, whispers spread like wildfire. They move like hunters. They waste nothing. Are they hiding some secret technology? Ambassador Celia watched silently. She remembered Admiral Hale's words: "Fight smarter, not louder." The endurance challenge pushed fleets to their limits, forcing them to operate under extended combat conditions. Ships had to last through waves of drones, asteroid fields, and energy storms. Many fleets slowed, their weapons overheating, their crews tiring. The humans pressed on. Their maneuvers were sharp, their formations shifting with perfect timing. Crew rotations kept their people alert, while their ships remained steady, engines glowing with controlled power. When the final wave of drones collapsed into sparks, the human fleet was still moving as one. Not a single ship had been destroyed. The trials ended. Silence filled the council chamber, a silence heavier than any laughter before. The chair of the council spoke at last, its voice soft yet echoing. "Humanity has completed the trials." Admiral Hale stood tall, his expression calm but his eyes shining with quiet pride. "We did only what was required." The Kreth commander slammed a fist into the table, but even he had no words. The laughter of the first day was gone, replaced by unease and respect. For the first time, the galaxy wondered, if this is what humanity can do with a tiny fleet, what else are they capable of? The proving trials were over, but the echoes of their results spread quickly through the Galactic Council. The humans had surprised everyone. With a fleet that looked too small to matter, they had disabled targets, survived endless attacks, and completed every challenge with precision. The laughter that had once filled the grand hall was gone. Now there was silence, and silence was heavier than sound. Some called it luck. Others whispered that the humans must have hidden technology, something unseen by scanners. But a few, like Ambassador Celia of the Tayari, saw the truth. The humans had not relied on secret weapons. They had relied on discipline, strategy, and a skill no one had expected. But the trials were only the beginning. The council's decision. The council chair rose once more, its luminous form shifting like a star through clouds. The trials have tested humanity. They have passed. But now comes the true measure. Murmurs spread across the chamber. Everyone knew what came next. The test of strength. Unlike the trials, which used automated drones and artificial challenges, the test of strength was different. It was a direct fleet-to-fleet exercise where new civilizations faced other established species. It was not meant to destroy, but to prove how well one could fight against real thinking opponents. The Kreth warlord stood immediately, his armored frame towering over the others. Let the humans face us. If they believe their little ships are worthy, let them clash with the might of the Kreth fleet. His voice thundered, and many in the chamber agreed. The Kreth were known as warriors, their fleets massive and their cannons unmatched in power. Admiral Marcus Hale did not hesitate. We accept. There it was again, that calm, steady voice. No fear, no stalling, just simple acceptance. The chamber buzzed. Even the Veyari ambassador leaned closer, silver eyes narrowing. Admiral, you risk everything. Do you not fear being crushed? Hale met her gaze. Fear has never stopped humanity from moving forward. The battlefield. The fleets gathered in a controlled sector of space, chosen for the exercise. Large asteroid fields drifted nearby, glowing softly under the light of a distant star. Council ships floated at the edges, ready to observe. The Kreth fleet was a sight to behold. Dozens of massive warships bristling with cannons, their hulls dark and jagged like the shells of predators. Their engines burned with red light, each vessel a symbol of brute strength. The human fleet looked small in comparison. Just a handful of ships, their designs simple and gray, engines glowing blue. No jagged armor, no terrifying spikes, just practical lines and quiet efficiency. Observers shook their heads. This is madness, one Veyari noble whispered. They cannot stand against the Kreth, but Ambassador Celia only watched in silence. The first strike. The test began. The Kreth wasted no time. Their warships opened fire in a storm of energy beams and heavy missiles. The void lit up with destruction, explosions flashing like miniature suns. Any fleet caught in that storm should have been obliterated. But the human fleet did not meet force with force. Instead, they moved. Their ships darted aside, splitting formation only to reform tighter than before. They slid between beams, missiles chasing them but never catching their marks. To the Kreth, it looked like chaos, but to observers watching carefully, it was a dance. Every human vessel moved as though connected to the others, anticipating where each would be. Then, the humans struck back. Not with overwhelming firepower, but with precision. A single volley of their weapons targeted one Kreth warship's engines. Sparks erupted and the massive ship drifted, disabled but not destroyed. Gasps echoed in the council chambers. The Kreth commander growled, slamming his clawed hand against the table. Coincidence. But when the humans struck again, another warship faltered. Its shields collapsed, its weapons went dark. Not destroyed, but rendered powerless. The laughter that once filled the galaxy was nowhere to be found now. Strategy over power. The Kreth commander ordered his ships to spread out, surrounding the humans. His vessels closed in from every direction, a wall of firepower ready to crush them. Admiral Hale's voice remained calm as he gave orders. Execute Pattern Delta 9. The human fleet responded instantly. Their ships split apart, weaving between asteroids using the field as cover. Kreth cannons struck rock after rock, shattering them into debris. But the humans slipped through the chaos unharmed. From behind cover, they emerged to strike. Their weapons targeted key points again and again: shields, engines, command relays. One by one, Kreth warships fell silent, drifting without power. It became clear to all who watched. The humans were not trying to destroy. They were dismantling the Kreth fleet piece by piece with surgical accuracy. The Kreth fired harder, frustrated, but the more they raged, the more mistakes they made. Their shots went wide, their formations broke apart. The humans stayed calm, every move deliberate. Ambassador Celia whispered to herself. They fight like predators who know exactly where to strike. The turning point. Half the Kreth fleet was disabled. The rest closed in with desperation. Their commander roared over the comms, his voice filled with anger. Enough games. Crush them. The largest Kreth dreadnought moved forward. A ship so massive it dwarfed the entire human fleet. Its cannons glowed, preparing a blast powerful enough to vaporize anything in its path. The council chamber tensed. Surely this would end the fight. But Admiral Hale gave one calm order. Now. The human ships broke formation and moved like arrows toward the dreadnought. They dodged its first barrage, slipping through gaps so small no one thought it possible. Then they struck not at the ship's armor but at its shield generators. Precise shots pierced weak points. The dreadnought's shields collapsed. Before the giant vessel could fire again, the humans unleashed a coordinated barrage on its engines. Explosions rippled across its hull. The dreadnought slowed, its power fading until it floated helplessly. The silence that followed was louder than any roar. The greatest ship of the Kreth, disabled by the smallest fleet in the galaxy. Respect earned when the test ended. The results were undeniable. The human fleet remained intact, not a single ship destroyed. The Kreth, despite their overwhelming numbers and size, had been disabled completely. The council chamber was silent for a long moment. Then voices rose, not in laughter, but in awe. They defeated the Kreth with only a handful of ships. They fought with precision I've never seen. Is this the strength of humanity? The Kreth commander sat in silence, his pride wounded. He had wanted to crush the humans, but instead his fleet had been dismantled in front of the entire galaxy. Admiral Hale stood calmly before the council. His face was steady, but his eyes carried quiet pride. We thank the council for this opportunity. Humanity seeks no war, but we will never stand unprepared. The luminous council chair spoke. Humans, your strength has been tested. Not by size, not by show, but by skill. Today you have earned respect among the stars. And for the first time the laughter was gone, replaced by something far more powerful. Respect. The echoes of the human fleet's victory over the Kreth still rippled across the galaxy. For centuries, civilizations had relied on size, power, and overwhelming firepower to assert dominance. Yet here was humanity. A species that seemed fragile and insignificant, standing victorious with only a few ships. Whispers spread quickly across the council chambers and beyond. What was their secret? How could such a tiny fleet disable a warlike civilization that had once terrorized entire star systems? The answer, as it would soon become clear, was not technology alone. Observers take note. Ambassador Celia of the Tayari was one of the few who had foreseen the possibility. Sitting quietly among the council, she reviewed the human maneuvers recorded by thousands of sensors. The footage showed the fleet moving as if one mind guided them, anticipating attacks and exploiting weaknesses. Their ships are small, yes, she murmured. But their actions, they are extraordinary. A Vayari noble beside her frowned. Extraordinary or impossible. There must be some hidden advantage, some device they are hiding. Celia shook her head. No, it is not the ships. It is the humans themselves. Many species did not understand. They had relied on brute force, believing that strength meant mass and power. Humans, by contrast, fought differently. They studied, adapted, and worked together in ways no one else had considered. The council's inquiry. After the trials, the council convened a special session. Leaders from every civilization, curious and cautious, gathered to question the humans. The chair's voice filled the grand hall. Humanity, your fleet has performed beyond expectation. Many in the galaxy demand to know, what is the source of your power? Admiral Marcus Hale stood calm as ever. The source of our fleet's strength is the people who crew it. Our ships are simple, yes, but our advantage lies in how we think, how we work together, and how we adapt. Some members snorted. The idea that strategy could rival the might of the Kreth seemed impossible to many. Hale continued. Other species build massive fleets to show strength. That is not weakness, but it is limited. We have learned that precision, timing, and coordination matter more than size. Every crew member knows their role, trusts their teammates, and acts decisively. That is our strength. A lesson from history to understand. Hale shared a brief history. Our people have faced hardships that would seem impossible to others. We lived on a world with limited resources, where survival required creativity and cooperation. We learned to adapt quickly, to use what we have efficiently, and to trust one another. Every human ship carries this history. Every crew member carries the lessons of generations. That is why a small fleet can do what a large one cannot. The council chamber was silent. Such a perspective was foreign to the galaxy. Most civilizations believed that strength was measured in the size of fleets or weapons. The human perspective, That intellect, adaptability, and unity could surpass brute force was revolutionary. Even the Kreth commander, seated stiffly, could not deny the truth. His mighty fleet had been dismantled by these children of a small planet, and now he faced the realization that he had underestimated them. Analysis of human strategy observers began analyzing the human fleet in detail. Every movement was precise yet flexible. They did not rely on fixed formations. Instead, they adapted to every situation instantly. Their weapons were not the most powerful, but they struck at weak points with exact timing. Council scientists studied their ship designs. Hulls were reinforced cleverly, engines were optimized for speed and maneuverability, and shields were deployed only when necessary. There were no flashy displays, no unnecessary ornamentation. Every element had a purpose. A Vayari engineer commented, "Their fleet is small, but the efficiency is remarkable. They use less energy, achieve more impact, and avoid waste. This is unlike anything we have seen." Celia nodded. It is not just efficiency. It is the human's ability to predict, to read the battlefield, and to act as one. That cannot be measured by sensors alone. It comes from experience, intelligence, and trust. Lessons in human ingenuity beyond strategy. Humans had a unique approach to problem solving. When faced with obstacles, they did not panic. They observed, adapted, and exploited weaknesses in their environment. Asteroid fields, energy storms, and enemy fire became opportunities rather than threats. One human captain explained, "We do not wait for situations to fit our plans. We make our plans fit the situations. That is how we survive." Other species were astounded. Most relied on sheer firepower to overwhelm opponents. The humans had shown that careful observation, analysis, and adaptation could turn even a tiny fleet into a decisive force. The Kreth come to terms. The Kreth commander, once proud and defiant, finally admitted the truth to his peers. "We underestimated them. They are not stronger because of their ships. They are stronger because of their minds and their coordination." They saw our weaknesses and exploited them flawlessly. Other council members nodded. Many who had laughed at the humans now spoke with respect. Even the loudest skeptics had to reconsider what strength truly meant. Hale's calm demeanor, combined with his crew's performance, had taught the galaxy a lesson it would not forget. Size alone does not determine victory. The power of human unity. Humans valued teamwork above all. Every ship, every crew member, had a role that complemented the others. When one ship was engaged in attack, another covered its blind spots. Communication was instant, decisions were shared, and mistakes were corrected immediately. This unity was difficult for other species to grasp. Many relied on rigid hierarchies or isolated tactics, believing their individual ships or weapons could dominate. Humans, however, used collective intelligence and cooperation as their weapon. Even the smallest human ship had an impact. Alone it might be vulnerable, but in coordination with others it became unstoppable. A galaxy's new respect as the revelations spread. Attitudes across the galaxy shifted. The laughter that greeted humanity's first fleet had vanished completely. Now there was curiosity, respect, and caution. News of the human strategy spread from council chambers to distant colonies. Young civilizations began studying humans, wondering how they had achieved such precision with so few ships. Older civilizations, proud of their massive fleets, faced uncomfortable questions. Had they relied too heavily on size and power? Could a smaller, clever fleet defeat them in a real battle? Even the Vayari engineers admitted, "We must reconsider how we design our ships. Perhaps humans are teaching us something greater than brute force." A quiet confidence. Throughout all this, Admiral Hale remained calm. He did not boast or gloat. Humanity had proven its strength, but they had not sought domination. "Our purpose is not to intimidate," he said quietly. "We wish only to be recognized, to participate as equals, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We fight with strategy, intelligence, and unity, not out of arrogance but necessity." Celia smiled quietly. "That is the most alien thing of all. They fight not to conquer but to survive and to help. That is why they are so strong, preparing for the future." The revelation of human strength sent ripples through the galaxy. Many species began to rethink their approach to warfare. Fleets were redesigned, training improved, and new strategies developed. But no one could replicate the human instinct for adaptation and coordination. Hale and his fleet continued their work quietly. They knew the galaxy would watch them closely, but they also knew that strength was not just about the present, it was about the future. Every human crew member was trained not only in technology, but in observation, analysis, and teamwork. That was a legacy no weapon could replace. The galaxy had learned a lesson it would not forget. The humans' tiny fleet was more than it seemed. Its strength lay not in size or power or fear, but in the mind, heart, and unity of the people who crewed it. And with that, the secret of humanity was finally revealed. The galaxy had watched. Every council member, every ambassador, and countless observers across the stars knew one truth: humans were not to be underestimated. The tiny fleet had proved itself repeatedly, not with raw size, but with strategy, precision, and unity. But respect was something that had to be earned in the field, not merely declared in council chambers. The ultimate challenge was approaching, a confrontation with the warlord Varkesh, whose massive armada had been terrorizing the Outer Rim. This was not a trial. This was real. Admiral Marcus Hale studied the reports carefully. Varkesh's fleet outnumbered his by 10 to 1. His ships were enormous, bristling with weapons and heavily armored. Most would say victory was impossible, but Hale's eyes did not waver. "Prepare the fleet," he said. "We fight not with fear, but with knowledge and coordination. That is humanity's strength." The calm before battle. The humans moved through the void with silent purpose. Each ship adjusted its course, engines glowing softly, forming tight formations designed for both defense and offense. The crew moved with practiced efficiency. Every captain, every pilot, and every engineer knew their role and trusted the others implicitly. Across the stars, Varkesh's fleet appeared, a tidal wave of metal and fire, engines burning like angry suns. Thousands of warships bristled with cannons capable of leveling moons. The sheer sight would have intimidated most species, but not the humans. They did not flinch. They did not falter. Their calm, quiet confidence was a weapon all its own. The first clash, Varkesh opened the engagement without hesitation. Massive energy beams sliced through space, targeting the human ships. Explosions flared as the smaller vessels darted, weaving between fire with precision. The Kreth had been powerful, yes, but Varkesh's armada was on another level. One shot could obliterate an entire ship. But the humans' strategy was simple and effective. Evade, adapt, and strike precisely. They did not attack blindly. They waited for openings, for weak points. The first human volley targeted an enemy frigate. With pinpoint accuracy, weapons struck its shield generators and engines. Sparks flew. The massive ship, which should have crushed them instantly, faltered, disabled in moments. Across the galaxy, watchers whispered in disbelief, a symphony of coordination. The battle continued. Thousands of ships clashed in the void, but the humans moved as one. They split and reformed formations instantly, covering each other's blind spots. Every shot was calculated. Every maneuver anticipated the enemy's next move. "Look at them," whispered a Vayari engineer. "They fight as if the entire fleet is a single organism." Even Varkesh was surprised. His armada's massive ships were powerful, but their size made them slow, their attacks predictable. The humans exploited every weakness, turning speed, intelligence, and coordination into an unstoppable weapon. The council chambers watched silently. No one had ever seen a small fleet fight like this. Many of the galaxy's greatest commanders began to take notes. Humans had not just survived, they were dominating. The turning point, Varkesh's flagship, the largest vessel in the galaxy, moved forward, intending to crush the humans in a single strike. Its cannons glowed with energy capable of destroying a dozen human ships at once. But Hale had anticipated this. "Split formation Gamma," he commanded. The fleet adjusted instantly. Smaller ships flanked the enemy, while medium-sized vessels distracted its fire. Every human ship moved as if part of a single mind. The flagship fired. Its energy beams slammed into the human fleet, but only met empty space. Humans had vanished from the expected paths, weaving through gaps no one thought possible. Then they struck. Precision attacks targeted the flagship's engines and shield relays. Explosions erupted across its hull. The massive vessel slowed, its shields flickering, its power systems failing. Varkesh realized too late that the humans were not attacking randomly. They were dismantling his fleet piece by piece. Human ingenuity. Throughout the battle, the human fleet displayed another key advantage: adaptability. Asteroid fields were used as cover. Energy storms became opportunities to mask movements. Even damaged ships were not abandoned. They were repaired in motion, with crews rotating seamlessly to keep vessels operational. One human engineer explained, "We do not let obstacles stop us. Every challenge is part of the fight. If we adapt quickly, we turn the environment to our favor." No alien species had ever fought like this. Many relied on raw firepower, hoping to overwhelm opponents. Humans relied on intelligence, cooperation, and flexibility, and it worked. By the end of the first engagement, Varkesh's fleet was already faltering. Several warships were disabled, engines destroyed, cannons inoperable. His pride and fear grew in equal measure. Varkesh faces reality. From his command bridge, Varkesh glared at the human fleet. They were fewer, smaller, and seemingly weaker, but they had outmaneuvered his massive armada at every turn. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His lieutenants were panicking, their ships falling silent one by one. "They fight as one," one officer muttered. "Every move is planned, every strike calculated." "We are being outsmarted," Varkesh roared in anger, trying to rally his fleet. But every attempt failed. The humans anticipated his actions, adjusted instantly, and struck at his fleet's vulnerabilities. One by one, the mighty ships that had once ruled the outer rim drifted powerless. Victory through precision. Hours passed. The battle raged, but the outcome became clear. The human fleet had not lost a single ship. Varkesh's armada, despite its size, had been neutralized without massive destruction. The humans had fought with skill and restraint, disabling their enemy instead of annihilating them. The galaxy watched in awe. For centuries, power had been measured by size, by firepower, by intimidation. Humanity had changed that forever. Even the Kreth commander who had once mocked them acknowledged the truth. "They do not fight like any species I have ever known. They do not rely on strength alone. They are extraordinary." The surrender Varkesh had no choice. His fleet lay scattered and disabled. Any attempt to continue the fight would be futile. With a reluctant signal, he surrendered. Admiral Hale responded with calm dignity. "We accept your surrender. Let this be a lesson. Strength is not always measured in size or firepower. Strategy, unity, and adaptability are what define true power." The surrender was broadcast across the galaxy. For the first time, humans were no longer seen as a minor species. They were recognized as equals, respected, feared, and admired. A lesson for the galaxy in. The days that followed, the council convened to discuss the outcome. The human fleet's victory was analyzed, studied, and praised. Every species, from the largest dreadnought fleets to the smallest explorers, took note of the new standard for strength. The lessons were clear. Size and firepower alone were not enough. Strategy and coordination could overcome overwhelming odds. Intelligence, adaptability, and unity were more powerful than any weapon. Even the most traditional civilizations began to rethink their fleets, inspired by humanity's approach. Humanity's quiet pride. Despite the praise, Admiral Hale did not boast. He and his crew knew the real victory was not just defeating Varkesh, but showing the galaxy what humanity could do. "We did what was necessary," he told his crew quietly. "We protected others, we fought with skill, and we earned respect. That is enough." The human crews smiled, knowing that their efforts had changed the galaxy's perception forever. Respect earned. When the council reconvened, Hale stood before them. The chair of the council, shining like a distant sun, spoke. "Humans, you have demonstrated what no one expected. You have earned respect not through intimidation but through intelligence, courage, and unity. The galaxy now knows that your place among the stars is secure." Hale bowed slightly. "We seek only to be recognized as equals, to protect and to learn and to share knowledge. We do not seek domination. Strength, when used wisely, is a responsibility." Applause, rare in council chambers, filled the room. The humans had won more than a battle. They had changed minds, hearts, and the galaxy itself. The legacy begins. From that day on, humans were no longer the small fleet that everyone laughed at. They were a symbol of what could be achieved with intelligence, strategy, and unity. Other species learned to respect them, and many began to study their methods. The tiny fleet had proven that courage, determination, and careful planning could overcome the largest obstacles. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, not just by fighting, but by teaching the galaxy a valuable lesson. Strength is more than size. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again.